What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me here at the Underground. So tonight I was just going to talk about the different kinds of silver, what they are, and how to identify the coins in your pocket so you can figure out whether you have silver or not. Coming up. So before we get too deep into that, I wanted to give you a quick update on some interesting information I found today. So today, total consumer debt now stands at a record 4.165 trillion seasonally adjusted. And it just blows my mind that mainstream gave this view that the increasing debt of consumers is good news. Now, the article goes on to say, after falling in August and holding steadily in September, revolving credit, primarily credit cards, increased by $7.9 billion in October, an 8.8% increase. Americans now owe $1.9 trillion just in their credit card debt. So in October, credit card debt increased $7.9 billion. That's what, everyone's going out and spending on their credit cards. And once again, it blows my mind how mainstream plays this off to be a good thing. The economy's doing great. Americans are out spending more than ever. But the thing is, most of the time when you're spending with credit cards, you're spending that because you don't have the cash. Most people use their credit cards when they can't afford to buy something with cash. Now, don't get me wrong. There's them, random people out there that are using it for a small purchase here, a small purchase there to build their credit. But that's not what's going on here. And, credit card debt is the worst debt to have because the interest is so high and it's so hard to pay off. Most people end up just making the minimum payment, and after the interest kicks in, the balance basically stays near the same. It might drop a couple dollars, but it's pretty near the same, especially if you have a credit card with a higher limit, into the thousands. And people get credit cards with bigger balances, and it makes them tend to buy things they can't afford, and it just puts Americans in a worse situation. And by the time most people realize this, it's too late. So the fact that we're seeing the surge in the spending when, that much of it is from credit cards, I don't think it indicates anything good at all. But just a harder fall in the future for, most people spending with these credit cards. And so the last thing I wanted to add real quick before we get into the silver is that, the Federal Reserve had their meeting today. And basically rates stayed the same, but, they promised to keep giving these markets more and more money. They basically said they would do whatever it takes and pretty much give them the entire world, which, at the rate they're going, the Federal Reserve and the central banks are going to own the whole world. And I just don't get whoever in their right mind would give, a company that's not part of this government the right to print and continue to print money based on, their decisions and their opinions alone. And that's what's got us into this mess. This is what created so much debt. See, the Federal Reserve's business is debt. It'd be like you having a store and you sell shoes. The more and more shoes people buy, the better position your company and you're in. And that's their business, is debt. So the more and more debt that they put out there, the more power they have and the better position they're in. So until somebody steps in and literally forces them to stop or everything just collapses, they're going to continue issuing debt till there's no tomorrow. But, by that time, there literally will be no tomorrow. But they're going to be set good. They don't care. I mean, think about it. These guys get to print and make money at will and then buy real hard assets with it. They can convert their digits that they print up instantly into real gold and into real silver, into sound money. And that's exactly what they're doing. That's why we're seeing record amounts of gold and silver being purchased this year by, central banks around the world. So, back to the point of this giveaway. I had some people ask me and say that, they wouldn't know where to begin if they wanted to buy silver, or what to look for if they were checking for it. So I figured I'd do this quick video to try to help some people out. You know, I understand purchasing a silver or precious metals for the first time could be overwhelming, especially when, you know, or if you're not familiar with it. I remember the first time I bought a silver round, I was so stressed that it was fake. And I just investigated so much to try to figure out whether it was real or fake, because just the fact of thinking I got ripped off, you know, it deterred me from wanting to, you know, get more, look into it. So first of all, we're going to start off with constitutional or junk silver. Now, the only reason it's called junk silver is because it's 90% silver, and you know, it's only good for the silver content, and that's why they called it junk silver, because there's no collectability to it. Now, don't get me wrong, if you find a mint, rare, you know, walking, you know, standing liberty or something like that, of course there can be some value to it. But for the majority of constitutional silver, it's only worth the 90% silver content, which is worth a lot more than the face value, and that's why it's called junk silver, but by no means is it junk. So, you know, as far as dimes and quarters go, anything 1964 and earlier is silver, hands down. Whether you find a 1964 dime or quarter, a 1957, you know, 1951, 1961, anything 1964 and earlier is real silver. Now, a quick way to tell is, you see that right there? You can see that copper in there. They wear down, and you see that copper. These are not silver. Now, you see that? It's shiny and bright. That's real silver. And mind you, these dates, I got one in here that's 1926, 1952. So these are a lot older than these, and you can see the difference. So real silver, the edges will never wear down and turn that copperish color. They will always stay silver because they're 90% silver. Now, a quick way to look too is here. I'll do this for you real quick. See that? I threw that silver round right there in the middle. I mean, clear as day, you could see that difference. You know, so if you ever have a roll of quarters, that's a quick way to look. You just hold them like this, and if you see a nice shiny edge, pull that one out and double check the date. Now, as far as nickels go, nickels only are 35% silver from 1942 to 1945, and that's because when the war started, they needed the nickel for the war, so they started putting silver, you know, to replace the materials that they needed for the war. But so that's 1942 to 1945. But a quick way to tell a war nickel, I showed this in the previous video, is you can see that S mint mark right there. That's how you know. Regular nickels don't have a mint mark there. So that is a quick way to tell with your nickels, besides the date, you know, but it could be a time-consuming thing to search through all the dates. With nickels, just look for that mint mark right there. And once again, you can see there's nothing there. If there's not a mint mark above there, your nickel is not silver. So that's a quick way with nickels. Now, with Kennedy half dollars, dates 1965 to 1969 have 40% silver in them. 1964 is the only year that they're 90% silver. So 1965 to 1969 are 40%. So those are still collectible and a good thing to have. Now, all Ben Franklin half dollars, they're 90% silver. So all of those are definitely highly collectible and valuable. Now, something else to keep in mind. In a regular ounce, there's 28 grams. In a troy ounce, which is how precious metals are weighed, there's 31.1 grams. And in any denomination with this junk silver, whether it's your quarters that are 90%, anything that's 90%, whether it's quarters, your dimes, doesn't matter if they're Mercuries or Roosevelts, any 90% silver content, $1.40 face value equals 1 ounce of silver. So keep that in mind. Now, we'll get into, other things with silver real quick, just to give you a quick crash course. So basically, all other silver is bullion. Whether it is a bar, a round, a brick, it doesn't matter. It's all bullion, and the size doesn't matter. Now, if it's a government minted sovereign coin, like this American Eagle right here says United States of America, 1 ounce fine silver, $1. That is considered a coin. And that does have a $1 face value, and you could go spend it in a store for $1, but I don't recommend it because the silver content alone is worth, 20 times that amount. And, every country, for the most part, mints their own government coins. Like and some of them have a couple. Like Australia has so many, and they're beautiful. They got the koala, they got the kangaroo. With Canada, you got the maple leaves, and they come with different little special editions. Like that's the Edison light bulb. $5 face value. You got, what is that? Somalia, 100 shillings. Congo. I mean, it goes on. Virgin Islands. So, those are considered bullion coins. And the good thing about them is it's like counterfeiting money. Only the governments have the molds to make these. So, no matter where you're buying these, you got a really good chance of not getting hustled or ripped off. It is really hard to counterfeit, government minted bullion coins. Now, the rest of these. Oh, one more thing too. The government minted coins usually come with higher premiums, than regular bullion. Like, that's an ounce, all this is an ounce, but those government minted coins are going to have a higher premium for that. But when you go to sell them, in return you do get a higher premium. One more thing I did want to throw in there. If you're just looking to get silver for a prepared mindset, I definitely recommend the Constitutional, because first of all, if shit hits the fan and you gotta go buy something and all you have is this one silver round, what if they don't have change? You're gonna give up a lot of value for, say, a loaf of bread or eggs. To where if you had 14 mercury dimes, which equal 1 ounce of silver, that's 14 transactions you can make. And silver is silver. The weight content is the same. I collected a lot of these before I got into the prepping mindset, or I would have a lot more of, the Constitutional. So, if you're looking into silver for that reason, I would definitely recommend the Constitutional. Because, here's the thing too, this is a bar that breaks up into 100 1-gram pieces. You can pull this out, snap these, and each one of these is a gram. But I paid so much more for this because buying silver in smaller amounts or in portions like that has an extremely high premium. For the amount of silver that's in here, I think it's about, let's see, this tells me right here. That's 100 grams. So for that 100 grams of silver, I probably could have got 150 grams in Constitutional. So, I don't know. I hope this helps some of you. I just wanted to give some of you guys a quick crash course on silver, what to expect, and, what to look for. Once again, I would go for the cheaper, more money for your buck thing, because when the shit hits the fan and this government implodes, nobody's going to care about whether it is a U.S. Eagle or a mercury dime that's all dirty and been circulated. Silver's going to be silver, and what's going to matter about it is its intrinsic value, the fact that it's actually silver, the metal content. I don't think anybody's really going to care too much whether it looks pretty or not, just the fact that it's silver. So what makes silver round or coin or bar bullion? Well, it has to have a high purity content of silver, and it's usually 995. For it to be considered bullion, it has to have a very high purity of silver. Because of the metal compounds, you can't have 100% silver. I read more details about it somewhere, but that's really irrelevant right now. But I just wanted to let you know that's what the definition of a bullion is. It has to have that high content of silver. And like, for example, American Silver Eagles, they are, 999, 3 nines. Canadian Maple Leaves are 4 nines. So there is a difference in, the purity, but it's so minute, it really gets looked over because, for example, an American Silver Eagle, because of the premium, costs more than a Canadian Maple Leaf. So that extra, thousandth of a 9 doesn't really make a difference there. But that is what defines, silver round or bar to be bullion, is that high pure content of 99 silver. So if you're looking to buy some silver and you're new, like I've said before, just go to your local coin dealer, look one up. They're going to be legit. I stay away from eBay myself, unless, if you're new to it, I would just recommend staying away from eBay, Craigslist, anything like that, because regular silver rounds and bars are counterfeited. And there's other ways to test them, but maybe I'll save that for another video if anyone's interested. So guys, don't forget about my giveaway. I got the shout out VR giveaway going on, and I have the comment giveaway going on. When I get to 500 subs, we're going to go live, and we are going to give away, ounces of silver. We're going to give away constitutional silver. We're going to give away fractional rounds of silver, and I'm hoping it's pretty awesome. And, I'll be glad because I know some good people out there are going to get some silver. So I want to thank everybody for listening. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And by all means, please keep prepping. Have a good night, everyone.